Towards the end of Perek Vav, chapter 6 in Kohelet. We're going to begin the first pasuk of Perek Zayin, chapter 7. All along in the last few chapters, Shlomo Melech emphasized the many vanities, Hevel Avalim as he calls them, of the various occupations that people engage in throughout life. And by doing so, they forget about the most important tachlit of life. What did we come for to begin with? What is our unique mission here? After all, mankind is unique. He is the crown of creation. The entire creation is created for him. It all serves him, whether it's the animal kingdom or it's the raw materials that the world is composed of. Everything serves mankind. So he's the crown. He's the most important part of creation. And Kohelet attempts to communicate to us that it's not just about physical survival. We're not here just to eat. We're not just here to work and to sleep and to enjoy ourselves. There's obviously something more significant. But if man does not take the time to think, to ponder the creation, then he will never figure it out on his own, even though in our subconscious mind, the neshama, the soul, has it within it to appreciate the grandeur of creation, the beauty and the design that is obvious, is very apparent. Nonetheless, there are too many distractions in this world, in our lifetime, that do not allow us, or give us a hard time at least, to slow down and to stop and think about all of this. So this is a very important book, Kohelet, as well as Mishlei, in teaching us Musar, Haskel, the ways of life, where one should spend his time and his effort in order to achieve what is intended to be achieved. In chapter 7, he's going to begin to tell us what to pursue. What is the most important of all to pursue? And when he talks about importance, he's not talking about just to the Jew. He's talking about to the non-Jew as well, to humanity as a whole. But before we begin chapter 7, let's just quickly go through the last few pesukim of some of the troublemakers that stand in the way. And one of them is food, as we will see. He explains as follows: Kol amal ha'adam lefihu, v'gam ha'nefesh lo timale. Loosely translated, much of the trouble that comes unto man, amal can be trouble. It could be also his deeds, but here the connotation is the deeds that are not really worthwhile, deeds that are not conducive to ultimately self-fulfillment, but are detrimental. So kol amal ha'adam lefihu, many of the troubles, the source of the troubles in one's lifetime have to do with one's mouth. Lefihu. V'gam ha'nefesh lo timale, and the spirit is never satisfied. Briefly, in other words, what he's saying is that the human being is not here for physical survival only. It is not just about food. Nonetheless, kol amal ha'adam lefihu. If you look around, what it is from the Chinese rice pickers of the fields to the greatest oligarchs, richest people in the world, presidents, kings, and so forth, regardless of who you are, what is common to everybody is everybody's trying to pay their bills, as we say in this country. Everybody's trying to feed his mouth. So that is the simple meaning of Kol Amal Ha'adam Lefihu. People are focused on making money. Making money for what purpose? So they can survive, so they can pay their bills. That's what most people are engaged in. And there are some, as he said before many times in different words, that never achieved that, even though they set out to do that. They went ahead and got themselves a degree. They spent years in college. They passed the bar. They worked very, very hard. And their life was cut short at 36. Unfortunately, right? So all of this happens. There are all kinds of scenarios in life. And what for? All that people are focused on is lefihu. In other words, to earn money, to have a degree, so they can feed themselves, even though they may never get to that point. And then what about the nefesh? The nefesh, which is the spirit, which is the essence of the human being. HaNefesh lo timaleh. That nefesh, which is the ikar, which is the essence of the human being, is never satisfied. In other words, they don't do anything for it. They're not preoccupied in satisfying the needs of the neshama, only the physical body. That is one interpretation. The second interpretation of Gam HaNefesh lo timaleh is that if we're talking about satisfying our physical needs, we're never happy. We're never satisfied. As was mentioned before, whoever has $1 million wants $2 million. He never stops. He will continue to try to make more and more and more and more and more. So when it comes to these physical needs, you're never satisfied. Not only are you not satisfied, lo timaleh, which means it will not be filled, also means that one is never really completely content. What's the difference between content and being happy or satisfied? Content in Hebrew, today we use a word called sipuk. When somebody does not have sipuks from something, he's worked hard, but he's just not happy with it. He's not satisfied. He has no satisfaction from it. It's a job. You ask the average person in the street, are you excited to go to work? I think the answer will be no. Are you looking forward to getting up every day and going to do whatever it is that you're doing? Most people will say no. They'd rather sit at home. It's not because of the work, necessarily. It's not because of the getting up in the morning. It's because of what they're involved. Not everybody's happy or content with what they're doing, that they are actually so proud of, that they look forward to it. You know, imagine two people who are engaged to each other, they're in love, they haven't seen each other for a while. You can imagine they're looking forward to seeing each other. They're looking forward to speaking to each other on the phone. They very much want to be together. Those are good feelings. But do those feelings exist with a job? That somebody's actually looking forward. He's so excited to get up in the morning to go to his job. Very, very, very few people really love what they do and are excited. So HaNefesh lo timaleh, in reality, even though people pursue many of these vanities, are they really happy with them? Are they content with what they're doing? Is there any sipuk? Did they get any benefit, any satisfaction from it? The answer is no. He says, HaNefesh lo timaleh. But the other meaning of nefesh is the spirit. And that's a very important idea, because the spirit does need its food. The food, of course, of the spirit of the neshama is the Torah, the learning, stimulating the neshama with proper understanding of what Hashem expects of us. All of this is definitely very important. And one who goes along in life and just pursues the matters or the needs of the physical body, there's something in him that will always be lacking. And he will always feel it, but he will never know what it is. And many people, in order to fill that void, will go on drugs, will go to the Himalayas and try some yoga, meditate. There's something missing. There's a void in their life. They don't realize what it is. They don't understand it. It's the nefesh lo timaleh. It's a spirit that is not being filled. It's not being taken care of. We're taking care of our bodies, but we're not taking care of the nefesh. So he goes on to explain that this amal, these troubles, many, many times come to an individual because of his peh, lepihu. It's not just about working to feed oneself. Kol amal adam lepihu, as it is mentioned by the various commentaries, is the mouth tends to be many times a source of many troubles. The mouth, more than anything else. What comes out from the mouth? Lashon hara, ka'as, anger, right? Lashon hara meaning gossiping, belittling others, speaking bad of others negatively. That's called lashon hara. Of course, the anger, the cursing, that's all from the mouth. What else comes from the mouth? Eating forbidden foods, or even eating permissible foods, but eating too much of it. As you may have heard already many, many times in this country, the average American is obese, overweight, junk food. So, how many people are in the hospitals these days because of that? We don't see the connection because the people there are maybe in their 50s and their 60s, but these are habits that began when they were young. when they were fed Coca-Cola for breakfast, right? And all the other junk foods, and all the fats. And even though today there's a lot of advertisements against it, people have formed habits that are difficult to kick, to get rid of. Whether it's smoking, or it's a drug, or it's food, the sugars, it has caused a certain dependency that people have on it, and a craving. But it's not too good for you. The Rambam, who was a great doctor, besides being a great Talmid Chacham, speaks at length about how the majority, if I remember correctly, of illnesses come from what we eat. Forget the genes now. Of course, certain things are transmitted by genes. Of course, there are certain things about the smog and the purity of air. Yeah, we know that. There's all kinds of things that are beyond our control. But for the most part, he says, a great deal, if not the majority, of illnesses in his time, and for sure in this time too, is from what we eat, what we consume. So, kol amal ha'adam lefihu, amal, all the troubles, the physical troubles, the illnesses, many of the things that happen to us, to our physical body, has to do with what we ate. Whether we eat on time, not on time, whether we chew our food properly, all of that has to do with eating too. Even though we're eating the right food, but if you don't chew it right, you eat it too quickly, you don't swallow right, all of that can cause problems. So a great deal of trouble comes from or through the mouth. Whether it's lashon hara, as we said, ka'as, anger, or too much food. A lot of things coming through from the mouth. Now this is one problem, of course. The side effects, as many of the foods that we eat have, and even medication, the side effects is that this interferes with Avodat Hashem. It's one thing that the physical body becomes disabled, or doesn't function properly, or is ill. There's another thing, a side effect I call it, and that is that the Avodat Hashem suffers, the service of Hashem. A person who does not eat the right food can get sick, does not wake up in the morning to pray. He's tired, doesn't feel right. So his Avodat Hashem, the service of Hashem, the performance of mitzvot, will suffer as a result of his dietary habits, his poor dietary habits. Rabbis tell us an incredible thing. They mention the following, that if one wants to pray that Hashem should help him with learning of the Torah, that the words of the Torah should penetrate and should influence him positively, the rabbis tell us, don't waste your time, or don't put too much effort on praying that the words of Torah should enter your body. Instead, focus rather, that all the goodies and all the junk food should not enter your body. In other words, our prayer should be composed as follows. May it be the will of Hashem that I should not desire junk food. I should not allow my body to absorb all these bad foods. Instead of saying, help me learn Torah, help me that I should be able to retain words of Torah, that they should affect me in a positive way. No. It's your fault that they don't affect you positively because of all that junk food that interferes, that makes you very lazy, it makes you slow, sluggish. All these foods, that's what they do. Many of the foods, that's what they cause. Side effects, not only side effects that are physical in nature, but side effects that affect us in a spiritual way. If a person becomes sluggish, then he's not in the mood, he's not excited, he doesn't feel like going to a shiur, or even if he's at home learning, he falls asleep, he closes his eyes, then what did he gain? And all of that because of the food, or because some other bad habits associated with food. So instead, Rabbi says, focus on the prayer being, eliminate the troublemaker instead of allowing the Torah, which would automatically enter and be more helpful to us if we didn't have all that junk food. An idea that is very much mentioned in the Zohar and elsewhere by the rabbis concerning one's mouth is that we don't realize how powerful the mouth is. Hashem gave us a mouth, the power of speech that is unique to human beings that animals do not have, in the exact way, same way that we have. And through it we are able to praise and to pray Hashem. To pray to Hashem, but our prayers are not as effective if there are barriers, mechitzot, that unfortunately were set up by ourselves. Through the same mouth, that same mouth that is now a medium through which we want to make a request of Hashem, that same mouth may have uttered curses, may have spoken Lashon Hara. That same mouth, you think, that has now become contaminated by all the cursing and by all the yelling and by all the Lashon Hara or eating forbidden foods, can now be used to make a request from Hashem. People complain, why doesn't Hashem listen to my prayer? Well, one reason could be is because that mouthpiece is contaminated. If the mouthpiece is contaminated, it's filthy, then obviously the mechitzot are created, the partitions or barriers are formed, and the prayer doesn't go anywhere, doesn't fly anywhere. So the holier the mouth is, the better the chances are that a blessing, one who blesses somebody else, will come true, perhaps, or that his prayers will be accepted. The better the chances are. Next. כי מה יותר לחכם מן הכסיל, מה לעני יודע להלוך נגד החיים. These are a little bit enigmatic words. The words are a little bit difficult to understand, but you pretty much can see the idea behind the words because of what he said in the past. What is the difference between an intelligent man and the fool? What does the intelligent man gain or have more than the fool in the eternal world, not in this world? In this world, the intelligent man may have a better job. Yeah, but we're not concerned about this world because this world is a temporary world. This is not the real world. So, my taron, in other words, or mayoter lechacham min aksil. What does the intelligent man have more than the fool when it comes to olam hanetzach? What did he gain just because he has 2 degrees, a PhD and a master's? So what? Upstairs they don't care about these things. As far as they're concerned, the fool and the intelligent man are both equal when they reach upstairs, unless one of them has good deeds, charity, kindness. In other words, what is the difference? What did the chacham gain more or have more than the exil? In other words, what does the poor man, just the way he compares the smart to the fool, he compares the poor man, of course, to the opposite, to the rich man. What does the poor man have any less? To be able to live his life. In other words, one pirush, simple interpretation of these words is, is the poor man any different than anybody else? He knows how to live his life. He knows how to conduct himself. In what way is he any worse just because he has less money? That's as far as perhaps buying himself some goods here. But in the world of eternity, which is the olam hanetzach, which is the ikar, the main thing, in what way did he lose out comparing himself to the rich? The only differences is what we take with us, not what we have accomplished here in the sense of physical assets. Those things are meaningless. It's what we take with us. And what do we take with us? The Ma'asim Tovim, the Torah that we've learned, that we've acquired. So in comparing people of extremes, poor, rich, smart, fool, it doesn't make a difference in the end. As we've said many times before, they have been in this world in their status as a result of their mazal during their lifetime, whether it was a mazal of wisdom, of knowledge, of wealth. Those are things that are not really acquisitions. Those are not things that they've acquired on their own. So if none of them acquired anything, then there is no difference between them. We're going to see where the differences really are in a moment. Now he explains, okay, if people are all preoccupied with making a living, rich and poor, the smart ones and the fools, why is it? Why is it that they don't take the time now to figure things out, to sort things out, to realize that it's a complete waste of time what they're doing? Life is so short, before they know it, it's over. Why is it? So now he gives a brief explanation, which is a little bit I like to say sarcastic, but it's not so much sarcasm because it's serious. It says, Tov mar'ei einayim mehaluch nafesh. One interpretation of these words is that, unfortunately, what people see with their eyes and feel with their hands, that which is muhashi, that which is palpable, unfortunately, that is more attractive than that which affects the nefesh, that which is beneficial or good for the spirit. In other words, the pleasures of life, the new car, the shiny car, the jewelry, the beautiful home, the granite kitchen. These are things that people see with their eyes and it's glitzy, as they say, right? Unfortunately, that is the reason, because tov mar'ei einayim mehaluch nafesh, that is something that you can hold onto your hand. But wait a minute, there's so much reward waiting for you for Olam Haba. Hashem is promising that you're going to have an eternal life and He's going to reward you immensely. Why does the Yetzer Hara sound more convincing than the Yetzer Tov? Because the Yetzer Hara pays cash and the Yetzer Tov pays with a post-dated check. The Yetzer Tov says, I'm giving you a post-dated check, you're going to have reward in Olam Haba. Right? That's 60 years from now, whenever it is that you leave this world. That's a post-dated check. I want to see it now. So the Yetzer Hara says, no problem, I give you pleasure now. I pay cash. That's what the Shlomo Melech is telling us in different words. That which is muhashi, that's what you can feel with your hands, that which you can see with your eyes, is unfortunately more convincing than that which you cannot see. Very simple. So why do people go for this and not for that? That's why. Because tov mar'ei einayim mehaluch nafesh. What the eye sees is simply stronger, better, more attractive than that which is supposed to be beneficial for the nefesh. He says, Gam zeh hevel u'reut ruach. It's so vain. It's so silly. It's so frustrating. He says that people are actually misled and mistaken by these things. It's all a complete farce. It's all distracted. Complete distraction. Next pasuk. Ma shehaya kvar nikra shemo v'noda ashehu adam v'lo yuchal ladin im shetakiv mimenu. Another pasuk that is a little bit difficult to understand. That sometimes if you learn Kohelet on your own, you will find it difficult to follow. The words are poetic. The words are sometimes difficult. And even the commentaries have different opinions as to what is the main message here. So I'm going to try, sometimes I'll give you more than one interpretation. The basic idea of what he's saying, Ma shehaya kvar nikra shemo, what already was, its name has been called already. He's speaking indirectly about one's mazal, about one's destiny and fate. What has been already decreed. V'noda, and it is known, ashehu adam, that he is, in other words, a human being. I'm going to explain that in a moment. V'lo yuchal ladinim shetakif mimeno, and he will not be able to go to justice against the one who's stronger than him. This is a literal translation. He's talking about things that are difficult to defeat, things that are difficult to overcome. You know, like there's a saying in English, you can't fight City Hall. That's what he's saying. In other words, if life, certain things are boxed in, if certain things are going to be the way Hashem decreed, those are things that we can't help. I mean, Am Yisrael is of course above the mazal, and we can through our prayers and teshuvah, we can make some changes. But in general, that which is strictly defined by Hashem, that which has been decreed, that which is already known from before, that's what he's saying, why bother fighting it? Another saying in English that fits into this, why cry over spilled milk? Something like that, yeah? What he's saying is, let's say you are going through tremendous troubles, all kinds of stormy times. Well, you can't help the situation. Imagine, God forbid, the Jews during the time of the Holocaust. Imagine them going through a march Have you heard of the marches that they were walking days, miles upon miles? Some Jews just fell. They couldn't walk, and those that fell were shot. They got sick. Imagine their spirit, how depressed they were, or how weak they were. Is there anything that they can do? Now, some of them occasionally had this idea of just slipping away in the forest. Some of them succeeded while the Nazis were not looking. And they ran for their life. Some of them were shot at, and somehow they succeeded. Some of them were killed. They went into a farmer's home. They got some food. The farmer helped them, and they survived the war. These are mysteries from Hashem. Who was meant to live, who was not meant to live. So sometimes an effort was successful, but many times the people were faced with an enemy that they could not defeat, not on their own. Yes, there were what we call partisans. There were people who tried to go against the Germans. And they were a little bit successful, but did they defeat the entire German army? No. They tried their best. Should they have done it? Probably yes. What do you have to lose? Once they knew and understood what the German plan was, you had nothing to lose. In the beginning, they didn't know because the Germans were very tricky. You know, take off your clothes. You're going to take a shower to be sanitized. They didn't know there were gas chambers. The Germans, Machshaman, were so cruel and so tricky, Amalek, that they tried to defeat their enemy in the easiest way possible, of course. Don't let them know for a moment that they're going to do that. Well, why have them fight against you? Why have them rebel against you? But anyway, once people were aware, of course, it was up to them. It was their right to try to save themselves. Even though it was a Kiddush Hashem, whoever died for the sake of Hashem. Still, when faced with a situation that you cannot go against, that's the mazal. It's a brick wall. You can't go through it. What can you do? What should you do? What's important here is the attitude, not the maaseh. If you can't do anything, at least the attitude should be fine. At least the attitude should be, you know what? I accept it mi'ahava. I accept it out of love. I don't understand it. I accept the pain and the suffering. I realize that it's all mishamayim. It's all from heaven. I realize there's something good behind it. Nothing bad comes down from heaven. These are words that not everybody will not necessarily calm everybody down, but this is the right attitude to have when faced with situations that are just not in our control. When something is within our control, then of course we have to do whatever we can. What is within our control? The fear of heaven. If we are good and kind and charitable, nice to people, compassionate, patient, tolerant, things like that, how we conduct ourselves with our fellow Jew, how we conduct ourselves in our daily routine, in the performance of the mitzvot between us and Hashem. That's up to us. Whether we put a tefillin, whether we buy a mezuzah for the door, whether we keep Pesach, the holidays, whether we fast on a fast day, that's up to us. That's not up to the mazal. Now, it is sometimes up to the mazal in exceptional cases where we are limited in ways that we they don't let us put on tefillin. How could that happen? Somebody's so sick in the hospital that he can't put on tefillin. He's patur, he's exempt. Or he's in a concentration camp. They took it away from him. Obviously, those are situations that are beyond our control. But other than that, we have the free will to be who we want to be when it comes to performance of the mitzvot. Do we keep Shabbat or not keep Shabbat? Do we eat kosher? No. It's up to us. But how much money we will make, whether we get the job or not, whether we succeed in the interview or not, whether we convince the judge of our innocence or the jury of our innocence, who our neighbors are going to be, what kind of kids we will have, how the spouse will behave with us. I mean, we can't control that. I mean, we can be nice and we can be an angel, but if the wife is not an angel, that could be a source of trouble for some people. I'm not talking about people who are animals who deserve what they got. I'm talking about angels, really good neshamot, who unfortunately, for some reason that we don't know, their mazal or tikkun was to marry someone who's giving them hell here, ba'olam hazeh. I think you may have known somebody like that, no? that may have had a difficult life or struggled because of some, it could be the other way around. The husband was, this could happen. No control. No, he's doing everything right. These are things beyond our control. But there are things that we can't control. In marriage, there are things that we can definitely improve and make the relationship smoother and easier and calmer, right? And fair, right? And respectable. Yeah, sure. Most of the time it's our fault if things go wrong in a relationship. It means that something was not done right, we didn't get the help on time, we just didn't try our best to make things work. And unfortunately, that's why there's so many divorces today. People don't try hard enough. People don't come to terms on the most simplest and basic things. What a shame. Usually they're not major issues. They're just usually minor issues. But they accumulate over time, and that it becomes more and more difficult to reconcile the differences. So Shlomo Melech is not talking about that area anymore now. Here he's talking about things that are beyond our control. He says, why fight it? Why complain about it? Just have a good attitude. It's been decreed. V'noda. Just remember, he says, Ashehu Adam. After all, you're a man. You're a human being. The importance of this statement is, because we're human beings, we are limited. We have hagbalot. We do not have the vision of an eagle. We do not have the speed of a deer. We're limited. We just can't do everything that we'd love to do. And because of that, we don't have all the control we'd like to have. So because of these limitations, we cannot cancel the decree, or we cannot defeat those who are stronger than us. Who is the remes to? Who is he talking about more than anything else? Hashem. If Hashem decreed, how are you going to change that decree so easily? Can you undo death? Ask Mr. Gates how much money he would like to give to the Malach HaMavet, to the angel of death, so the angel of death should not take him ever. I'm sure he'll be willing to give almost all his money, right? Billions of dollars, whether in stocks or in cash, whatever the Malach HaMavet takes. Stocks in Microsoft, I don't think he'll take it. Anyway, will it help him? Malach HaMavet said, you can give me all the money in the world, and I still take you. You cannot hold yourself back from dying. You can pay as much as you want. You will not be able to hold yourself back from dying. That's Gzerat Mavet. That's called the decree of death that everybody has to go through. Nobody can stop it. There is a few people, there are I think more, at least one or two, who paid a lot of money to freeze their body in 200 minus 0, I forget what it is, the temperature, so that one day if the scientists are able to discover a way to bring back the dead, the body is ready. Could you believe it? Somebody actually paid a lot of money to have his body in permanent freezer, but not just a freezer, a real freezer. Well, he doesn't realize that Tchiyat HaMetim is free. Tchiyat HaMetim B'ezrat Hashem, soon many, not everybody, but many people will rise for free. Anyway, so we're talking about the limitations. Because of all those limitations, it's important that we have a good attitude. After all, if somebody gets angry, imagine somebody ran into him, a car. This happens. New car, he just came out of the dealer with his brand new car, he's so happy. Somebody, boom. It has happened, you know? Right out of the dealer. Boom. Even if it's a scratch. He's so upset. What is this going to help you that you're upset? Is it going to help anything? It's not going to help one bit. The being upset does not help. The insurance is going to help. Yes. The insurance is going to help, hopefully, to fix the dent. But being upset will not help. So why be upset? You see? Some things, it just doesn't pay to be upset about. There's nothing you can do about it. What are you going to do about it? Right? Some say, I'm going to be upset at my wife because next time she'll know better. Next time she won't know any better. The same mistakes will repeat themselves. Perhaps not so quickly. Perhaps it will take 2 years. Doesn't help to get upset. It actually is more effective to say it nicely, and perhaps it'll take 5 years for it to happen again, not 2 years. It will still happen. Certain things happen all the time. So getting upset doesn't cure the problem, doesn't help the problem. Next pasuk, yesh dvarim harbe, marmim havel mayoter la'adam. He says in life, and he had a short life, 52 years. And he didn't, even though he saw a lot, and he probably saw a lot more than we do, he didn't see all the technology of today. He didn't see all the gadgets. But I'm sure he saw similar things, and you would have reached the same conclusion. Yesh dvarim harbe, marbim havel. There's so many things in this short life that waste our time, that increase our hevel. Hevel is vain. In other words, things that are done for nothing, time that is killed, time that is wasted. Mayotel adam, so much so that people's time, people's precious time is just taken away from them. You know, today, you read the news about the market, the stock market. People are crazy today. They don't know where to invest their money. So the stocks are going like this and like this and like this. They're afraid. So you have all these experts. And what do the experts say? 5% in gold. Not more, just 5%. And then buy a stock in Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is going to be around for a while. You know, they try to give you advice with the strong companies on how to safeguard your investment. How long will that last? The investment may outlive the individual. Right? This individual is trying to invest, and he has another 20, 30 years to he's retiring, right? So that investment, if things are normal in the world, it may actually outlive him. Is that that's where he should invest in? Time is the most precious commodity of all, more than gold, more than everything. Time. How do you spend your time? What do you make of it? What do you do in the morning? What do you do in the evening? You just sit back and relax next to the swimming pool with a cigar in one hand and reading a newspaper on the other hand. I mean, and have a Bloody Mary on the table. Is that what people do? I mean, how do you make use of your time? So he says, Yesh dvarim harbe marbim hevel. There's so many things that will preoccupy you. A new gadget came out. I have to have it. People say, what's a new gadget? The iPod. Or the ones, I don't even know what they're called. Yeah, the big square screen.
Oh, the notebook?
No, the square ones where you start moving menus across the screen. iPhone, yeah. Whatever, all these shtuyot. And guess what? It only cost $400 when it came out. 400 hard-earned money, hard-earned money. But I have to have it. Don't you realize that it's going to go down in price 6 months from now or 3 months from now? Oh no, I have to have it now. That's heaven. That's shtuyot. And who's responsible for that? Of course, all the advertisements. They wouldn't spend millions of dollars on advertisement if it didn't work. Apparently it sells. So they tell you owe it to yourself. You must have it. You're a man if you have it. They tell you all kinds of things. Yeah, now I'm a man. And so people are crazy about these things, and that's all heaven. And there are many, many such things. He says, Yesh dvarim harbe marbim havel in the world. People go crazy about all kinds of things. I'll give you another example. Even though this one is actually interesting. In Israel today, in the city of Akko, which is an old city, very old city. It's been around for a long, long time. And been occupied by many nations, the Crusaders, the Muslims, the Jews.
Baha'is.
Yeah, and it's been destroyed, parts of it at least. Recently, they've discovered one of the old cities buried underneath. An entire city from the time of the Crusades. A whole big tunnel. So they're excavating it and saying how this is going to bring a lot of tourism to the city and money, of course. And it's very interesting from an archaeological perspective. Now, what's wrong with this? Nothing really. It's very interesting, actually, if you're interested about the history of the land. The thing is that this is just another little hevel that will distract an individual who's interested in that from his real tachlit. We only have so much time. We have to be realistic and pragmatic, down to earth. You can't divide yourself, so you can't divide your time and yourself just everywhere. You have to really, really limit yourself to priorities. Otherwise, you become scattered. Scattered. Are your children important? Your relationship important? Yes, that's priority number one. Spend some time with them. Make time for them. That's important. That's a priority, yes. Your parents are important, yes. Not only are they important, it's a mitzvah, kibud av va'em. Especially the elderly, they may need your help. Is that a priority? Yes. The Torah says so. What else is a priority? Learning, praying, helping people in need, visiting the sick. These are things that are priorities. Going to a funeral too. Helping someone in need, whatever. All these are priorities. Should I take the time for them? Yes, the answer is yes. And of course, you can somehow manage that time properly between one day of the week, a second of the week. It doesn't all have to be one day. The problem is when you have all these hevel, dvarim harbem marbim havel, they take away your time. And we've spoken about this when we spoke about midot. For those of you who remember the series on characteristic, khususiyat, right? Characteristics, right? We spoke about various midot. One of the midot was seder, organization. How important it is to be organized. Because if you're not very well organized, it's very easy to procrastinate. If you're not organized and disciplined, you're going to procrastinate. I got to do this, mañana. The problem is mañana, you'll have something else to do too. And that thing will eventually be pushed off for 6 months. It will sit on your desk. It happens to many of us. Unless it's not important. Well, if it's not important, it could sit. But it's not a good way to get used to doing things. A better way, and a more successful way, an effective way to accomplish is seder, organization. And being consistent, being determined. All of these are important midot that help us accomplish. Time is short. You want to accomplish. So if you have hevel, havalim, all kinds of distractions, I got to see the latest news. I got to see the video. From time to time I get a book as a gift. And the one who gives me the gift says, you have to read this book. And you know what I tell them? This book has to sit for 25 years before I can get to it. He says, why is that? Because there's about 12 books waiting online to be read before it. Yeah, why should I grab this one before them? I got them as gifts too. I bought them too. Which one should come first? Oh no, you got to read it. If I start reading it, I'm not reading this one. If I start reading, you see? So we have to prioritize our time. We have to prioritize our interests. Especially when there's so much hevel, havalim, all sorts of vanities that distract us. Therefore, because there's so many distractions, a person has to be careful not to involve himself in all these things that are really not important. He has to really, really be careful to prioritize his time. Next pasuk. כי מי יודע מה טוב לאדם בחיים מספר ימי חייו לו ויעשם כצל, אשר מי יגיד לאדם מה יהיה אחריו תחת השמש. Again, a pasuk that is a little hard to follow, but loosely translated he says like this. Who in this world can ever tell anyone what is good for him during his short life that passes like a shadow? Who can ever tell one what will be after him? What will be the future? What will be the consequences of his actions? In other words, there are a lot of unknowns. And all of these unknowns are not possible for one to know on his own. So he says, who is the one that can tell one, can give someone a shortcut, the lessons of life, briefly, so one can come out ahead and do the right thing during his short passage through this world? And the answer is, me, Kohelet says, Shalom Melech. I can tell you. He doesn't say that, but that's basically what he's saying. I'm the one that is going to tell you, and I'm going to tell it to you in the next chapter. When he says me, he refers obviously to the Torah. Where does he get his chokhmah from? So it's only through learning Torah, through learning the chokhmah, can you somehow get a head start in knowing what pitfalls to avoid. Don't repeat the mistakes that others made. Don't waste your time. Be careful how you prioritize and manage your time. I'll tell you where to focus your efforts in, and he's going to tell us what one of the most important things in life is in the next chapter. But here he's telling us, he's reminding us how life is short by saying that it's all like a shadow or like the shade. What does it mean? You see the shade, you see a shadow because of the sun's position, right? 2 minutes later, you turn around to where the shadow was, and it's gone. How is that? Why is that? Because the sun has moved, right? And the sun moves pretty quickly. So that's therefore a description of how life moves very quickly, like the shadow. Rabbis tell us in Pirkei Avot, in other words, Hayom katzar v'melacha merubah. The day is short, but there's so much work to be done. People don't realize it. The day is very, very short. Before you know it, it's over. So therefore, what is the most important thing in life? Where should we focus our efforts and our time? What should we try to acquire in life? What's one of the most important things in life? Pasuk Aleph in Perek Zayin says as follows. You know what that thing is? Tov Shem, Mishemen Tov, V'yom Hamavet Miyom Hivalido. A good name. Acquire yourself a good name in this world. Well, obviously, to acquire yourself a good name, one needs to do certain ma'asim. One needs to conduct himself in a certain way, in a proper way, the way the Torah expects of him to conduct himself. This is what he should aspire to. This is what he should want to accomplish in life. If one achieves a Shem Tov, that's a tremendous achievement. This Shem Tov, this good name, Tov Shem, is better than a Shemen Tov, better than good oil. What does good oil have to do with the good name? Oil, a good oil, has a good fragrance. It's good. It smells good. People enjoy it. People want it, right? He says, but Shemen Tov doesn't last as long. Shemen Tov only lasts as long as you have a little bit left in the bottle, in the flask. Once it's finished, it's finished. A Shem Tov lasts forever. A Shemen Tov can only be smelled, the fragrance, from a distance, maybe 100 feet, let's say. A Shem Tov can reach all corners of the globe. A good name, a good reputation is heard everywhere, especially in the internet today. It goes everywhere, a good name. And a bad name, the same too, unfortunately. So a good name is better than a Shemen Tov. A good name will live on even after his death. And another example of Shemen Tov is who uses Shemen? A king and a Kohen Gadol, who were anointed with the oil. So what is the significance here of this comparison? That even though they are anointed, these two very high important positions of the priesthood and the king, it's not important their position. It's important the man behind the position. The Shem Tov behind the position is more important than the position. The Kehunah and the Malchut, being a king and being a high priest, of course, is something great. It's a great position. But it's more important the individual behind the position, not the position. The Shem Tov is better than the Shemen Tov, which makes the position. So even though these individuals were great people, they were not great because of the position. They may have been great because of who they were. They may have been. But you know that in the Beit Sheni, in the Second Temple era, the Kehunah Gdolah was bought for money. It was a political position. It was not necessarily the right person for the position. The right man for the position, as it should have been. That is why the rabbis tell us, Ha'adam mechabed et ha'misra. In other words, the man is the one that gives kavod to the misra, to the avodah, to the job, to the position. It's not the other way around, that the job gives kavod to the man. Who is in the position? He is the one that gives kavod to it, not the other way around. The job, who cares? You can be the president of the United States, but not necessarily be such a worthy man. You can be a very, very worthy, special man and be working as a plumber. Right? It's not the position, it's the Shem Tov. So that's another interpretation of what he means over here. It's that we should strive for throughout our life is to make sure that we have a good name, that people speak good about us, that nobody's upset about us, nobody has anything negative to say. That is something which is not necessarily easy to accomplish. Just to finish up, I'm going to quote to you a few Ma'amarei Chazal that speak about this idea of a Shem Tov. Rabbis tell us, Shlosha Ktarim b'Shlosha Ktarim Nichteru Yisrael. Am Yisrael has been crowned with 3 crowns: the Keter Keuna, the Keter Malchut, and the Keter Torah. We have the crowns. Crowns, in other words, the high positions, the important positions of priesthood, of royalty, right, and of Torah. The Keter Torah, of course, is something that belongs to every Jew, as opposed to the Keter Keuna that belongs only to the Shevet Levi, as opposed to the Keter Malchut that only belongs to Shevet Yehuda. Keter Torah can belong to every Jew. Whoever wants to put on the crown of Torah, wants to support Torah, wants to be a part of Torah, it's up to him if he wants to acquire that crown. But even though all these 3 crowns are important, the greatest crown of all, she'oleh al gabehen, that goes on top of them, is Keter Shem Tov, the crown of a good name. That's even greater than the Keter Torah. Now, a person cannot, of course, get the Keter Shem Tov without having the Keter Torah. Nonetheless, that is a greater crown than all the other 3 crowns that are mentioned. This crown of a good name, by the way, the reason why he mentions here the day of death is more important than the day of birth is because at the time of death, that Keter of Shem Tov can no longer be mitkalkel. During one's lifetime, a good name could be ruined if a person makes a big mistake. Once a person is leaving this world, Baruch Hashem, he has left this world in peace. That is a good sign. But he definitely praises the day of death a lot more than the day of birth. For what reason? We spoke a little bit about this in the past, but I'll repeat it again. The Midrash says the following. The Midrash says, imagine 2 big ships. One is leaving the port and one is arriving in the port. The one that's leaving the port is going on a big journey. The one that's coming back to port is coming back from a long journey. People are clapping. People are happy. For who are they happy? For who should they be happy? For the boat that's departing? Waving, or for the one that's coming. So the Midrash says you should applaud for the one that's coming, not for the one that's leaving. Why? Because the one that is coming has come back from a long journey, dangerous storms perhaps in the sea, and it's arrived safe and sound at the port. The one that is about to leave, who knows what storms it may run into. When a child is born, when a baby comes into this world, he or she is cute, 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 cute. Who does she look like? The mother, the father. Everybody's so happy. Everybody smiles, right? That little baby can turn out to be a monster one day. Yeah, that little cute baby, whether she's blonde or black or blue or whatever, it doesn't make a difference. We don't know when a baby comes into this what will be from it. We hope and pray. When a child goes through the Brit Milah, we ask the Kadosh Baruch Hu that we should have the zechut, legadol leTorah, lechupar ma'asim tovim. Obviously, we pray that everything should turn out well, but we don't know. We pray. When a person leaves this world, Baruch Hashem, we say he was a good father, he was a good brother, he was a good uncle, he was a good husband, he was a good friend. Now we can look back at his whole life and see what he did with himself. So when is the time to praise? When is the time that we can really say that somebody was actually good? Upon his death, when we eulogize him at his funeral. That is the time to look back and reflect and see what he did with himself, what he did throughout his life. What did he accomplish? Did he at least accomplish a good name? Then it was worth it for him to come to this world for whatever number of years it was, even if it was 35 years. It's not the number of years that matters. It's what one did during the time that he was here. That's what matters. Oh, he left so young. Yes, it's sad for the ones who brought him into the world, for those who were close to him. He meant so much to them. Yes, but what matters more is what he or she did in the time that was allotted to them. That's more important than anything else. That's the Shem Tov. Does he or she have that? Yes. If yes, then Baruch Hashem, we're happy for them. When can we tell that? Only b'yom hamavet. not the Yomi Valido, during the day, and the moment that one departs. And when they come, we don't know this. Time will tell, therefore, if they acquire themselves a good name or not. That is why the rabbis tell us one way to know if people are really good or not is kol sheruach habriot nocha imenu ruach hamakom nocha imenu. If people are happy with someone, if people only have good things to say about an individual, that's a sign and indication that Hashem is happy with him. You know the English saying, wherever there's smoke, there's fire? Right? Something like that? If people talk negatively about someone, if a lot of people have harsh words to say about someone, that's not a good sign. That means upstairs they are upset at him too. Now, when I say good things about someone, I don't mean they say good things because he gives them money. No. That's flattery. That's buying people. When people like someone because of his money, that's not really liking him. Take away his money, they'll stop liking him. You know? We're talking about people that really have something positive to say. They enjoy someone's company. They only have good things to say. That is a good sign. The Bashamayim, they're also happy with him. That is something very, very special. If somebody, for the most part, people only have good things to say. Can somebody make everybody happy? No. As the Megillat Esther records towards the very end, Mordechai, right? Ratzui lerov echav. Mordechai Tzaddik was had a 3/4 approval rating. You know approval rating? 3/4. It says v'ratzui lerov echav, to the majority. Why does it say the majority? Because there were some people who were complaining. Mordechai should have done this. He should have done that. He gave in too fast. People always complain. That's why it doesn't say lekol. There may have been a few guys exceptions. But lerov, the majority, that is a big accomplishment. That we should find favor in the eyes of the majority of the world. That's great. Then, of course, we have the pasuk B'ritzot Hashem darchei ish gam oivav yashlim ito. When Hashem approves of a man's ways, even his enemies will make peace with him. If Hashem is happy with us, no enemy will bother us. When Hashem agrees, accepts, is happy with our deeds, gam oivav, even our enemies will make peace. They won't bother us. The rabbis even add, who's your enemy? Who can be your potential enemy? Your wife. In other words, if your dear wife, all of a sudden opposes you, goes against you, honey, what happened to you? It could be because the man is doing something wrong. He's doing something wrong. Hashem sends his wife to oppose him in a very, very different way than what they're used to. What's going on with her? She becomes his enemy. That's not a good sign. That means that he is doing something wrong. Because if Hashem would approve of man's ways, even his worst enemies, even the Yetzer Hara, they say, would make peace with him and would leave him alone. So that is another indication. One wants to know if Hashem likes him. See if there's any enemies going against you. The Israeli state today, the Israeli nation, Israel, today has trouble with their enemies. Why? Because obviously there's something wrong. It's very simple. It has nothing to do with taking away their territory. It's nothing to do with taking away their rights, with conquering them. And nothing whatsoever to do with that. That's just babamaises, as we say in Yiddish. That's just excuses, politics. The real reason is Hashem is not happy with something. Once Hashem will be happy with us, all the enemies will go away. They will make peace with us. Who needs the problems? Who needs all these troubles? Right? Nobody wants it, but they don't realize what they have to do to take away the trouble. There's no rain. So we got to now ask Turkey to give us some water. They have so much of it. That's not the answer. That's not the solution. The solution is teshuvah. When Am Yisrael would do the right thing, all the problems would disappear. Another idea is that the rabbis emphasize that it's always better for one to be soft. It shouldn't be too much of a kapdan. Don't be too strict and demanding of people. Don't be strict. Don't be exacting. Otherwise, what happens is not only does that affect relationships, it affects your mental state of being, your emotional state. When a person is very upset, when he's strict and demanding, it makes him nervous and tense. So you want to be a happy person, you want to have a happy life, be soft, be forgiving. And rabbis tell us that whoever is tolerant, whoever is ma'avir al midotav, whoever is forgiving, HaKadosh Baruch Hu mitnaheg imo midah keneged midah, Hashem will also behave with him in the same way. Everything is measure for measure. So if we're kind and nice and forgiving and easygoing, not strict with others, so will Hashem be with us. But those who are demanding, exacting, With others, Hashem says, oh, you're demanding, I'm going to be demanding and exacting with you too, exactly to the T. So what's better? Obviously. And last but not least, it affects our entire life. If we have a positive attitude, we're easygoing with people, we're nice to them, we're forgiving, we're gentle, right? It affects our entire life. We will be happier, the happiness will be more lasting, and we will be able to avoid many, many of the troubles that people go through in life, which is mahloket, arguments with neighbors, with brothers and sisters, with uncles and cousins, issues, disappointments, all for what? For having the wrong attitude, for looking at life the wrong way, for not prioritizing things properly. Be easygoing, be calm, just be normal, right? Be gentle. All of these qualities that the rabbis emphasize are for our own good. It's not only to have a better relationship with people, it's ultimately, B'ezrat Hashem, for us to also have a better and healthier life. Thank you.